Welcome to Mind Amendment, the podcast that dares to challenge the ways that we think about mental health, physical health, addiction, and healing. This is where healing meets action. Dr. Gold shares what she's been doing now as Chief Wellness Officer to shift culture and how anyone in any system can start building something better. Screenshot this episode and share your favorite quote and tag us at Mind Amendment. It is the end of July and I'm actually on vacation right now doing what we're talking about healing from, which is burnout. And I haven't talked about that yet at all in our interview, but I'm so glad that I am. So, we're pre-filming this and I'm so glad that our audience is tuned back in. Wait, if you have not seen part 1 through 3 of this or listened, go back and tune into that first. It's all sequential and life-changing. So I'm here with our amazing guest, Dr. Jessi Gold. And we're talking about burnout and all the things related to it as a professional, especially a mental health professional, especially a doctor. Okay, so again, we're going deep, but we're going to start light and break some ice. The topic for part 4 is, what do you need? Sounds simple, but we're going to get complex. So the game, who were you before the world told you? Who were you before the world told you? So fill in the blank. Before I became a doctor, I wanted to be...
Like, as a little kid, an inventor.
An inventor.
Yeah. Then, like, a little bit later, an Olympic swimmer. And at one point, probably, like, public health, sort of global health.
Awesome. I love how those are so very different.
They're super random. Yeah.
All right. My happiest memories have always included...
friends.
The me I'm trying to reconnect with is...
energetic. That's just one of those days. No,
Fair
I'm
enough.
just kidding. I think it's just a me that cares about me too.
I love that. I'm just sitting here pensive and reflecting because I hope that's one of those things I'm like, I hope that never ends for you and I hope that never ends for me. Yeah. I feel the most like myself when I...
Probably with like my fam, like when I hang out with my family. I'm the youngest of 4, so we got a big herd these days, but it's fun.
That's awesome. I just think about, because I talk to a lot of people with like severe family trauma. And so when they answer similar questions, they're like, the being back with my family, they're immediately like the part of myself I'm trying to grow out of. And so it's refreshing to hear that answer.
I mean, it's nothing's perfect.
No, but I mean, like
yeah.
that you have that feeling with your family. That's beautiful. Amazing. Okay. Dr. Gold. That's the last time Jessi from the rest of the episode. What is one piece of yourself you're currently reclaiming?
I feel like I have to like keep regularly trying to find myself outside of work. So like an identity apart from a work identity is like constantly a struggle for me, because I like my job, but I think that's just like always gonna be the answer for me.
Follow up. So do you find something and then like it wanes, and so that's not the thing you stick with. Like, you know, like you get back in the work grind, and then you're like, oh, I need to find myself outside of work again. So you don't go back to that same thing that you were trying. Or what does that look like for you?
So I have to recognize that work is taking over. And then I think I probably go back to the same stuff most of the time and like what works. Cause
is it real dusty when you get back to it?
Sometimes, or it's like, why? You know, it's like a muscle you have to reflex. Like I like to journal, but like once I started writing as part of my job, like it was hard to do that. Like it felt like it was more work. And so sometimes like when you say if things change, or, you know, like sometimes I can't do it because I'm like, ugh, like that's work too now. I also really like reading, but also that's work too. And so it depends on how worky those things feel as to like whether I have to do something completely different. There was a time where like I started reading, but I couldn't read like books that had anything to do with mental health advocacy, like sexism, like any ism, because it was just like, that's the stuff I like and I find interesting, but that's like hard and it's also heavy. And so like I forced myself to like beach read, and that was helpful, you know? And so sometimes there's like, the thing could be useful, but how I do it has to be a little different given the context too.
Definitely. Okay, so I hear insight has to be infiltrated through all of it. Yes.
I think it's now a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that I had insight before.
Yeah.
And I forget what I like a lot of times. Like I'll tell patients like write down the coping skills or the things that work for you, because when you're like in it, you forget. But I think sometimes I forget because I'm like, nothing works. Like whatever. And I'm a big, like my go-to speed, like, so I have like, my speeds are like 100 and 0, and I don't have an in-between. Speaking of like that gray zone nuance thing, like I actually don't have an in-between. So one of the things that I've had to work on is like,
wait,
I don't. What are you going to say?
I'm going to challenge you and say, do you wholeheartedly believe that? Or is that a narrative you've been telling yourself that you haven't been willing to challenge to the extent that forces you out of the comfort zone?
I mostly believe it. But it's because like what happens is like I work, and then I just want to sleep and watch TV. Like that's it. Like I don't want to do anything else. And like I know that that's not great and that there's better ways to like cope and deal, but it's like speed off and like travel.
Oh, so you were saying this is what you do, not that this is what you believe is your only capability of functioning.
I don't know how to be at 50. That's like something I really, really work on. Like a lot of people in my med school took a 5th year to do research, and I didn't do it because I would never have been in a lab, and I would have mostly been at home, and I would have just watched TV and like slept. Like that's my go-to sort of like space if it's not working. And so like that's really hard. And so I struggle with that a lot. Finding like any speed along there that's not 100 or 0, especially like with traveling and stuff too. Like it's very easy to justify like I'm just tired. Like of course I'm sleeping. Like of course I don't feel like peopling. Of course I want to watch like a bunch of dumb TV. But like that's not the healthiest thing all the time. It's a very passive coping. And so I have to fight the 0 really, really hard.
You know, and I'm as you broadened out your explanation of that, I think that I was trying to put myself through the lens of my own profession and life and personal life. I think something that I struggle with that I'm curious if you would identify as well is that like knowing how much energy it takes to be on when you need to be on. For me, there's a tendency to when not being on and working, that my version of the Sunday scaries, because I'm not a Monday through Friday, like, you know, so my version of the Sunday scaries are the whatever time that I have that I'm off before I have to be on, whether it's a part of the day before a 3-day chunk where I'm scheduled back to back, or the night before or whatever, and or even randomly, and maybe I have 2 days where I don't, but just being so scared that if I don't rest enough, I'm gonna not be able to be there and show up, like letting fear get the.
I think you'll probably have some of that, like overfilling the tank and hope and anticipation of depletion. I also think that I convinced myself that I need this severe restorative time after a lot of that, but it doesn't make a ton, it's not completely logical. But it will mean that I don't want to do a lot. If someone was let's go, you're back from work and you've been traveling a lot, but we have Saturday off, let's drive somewhere for an hour and a half. I'd be that's a terrible idea. Who wants to go somewhere? I've been gone. I'm just going to sit here and be here. And it's not a avoidance of people or anything. It's just this belief that I need to just not. And some of that is true and some of it is false, in a over adjustment, which you do on one side too, but you sort of prepare. I don't know that I prepare.
I think the key word there that you just said is over adjustment. And I don't know. I like being aware and continuing to ask, call back to what you were talking about before. I think the antidote to so many of our woes is never quit being curious. And I think that as long as we keep that up,
Yeah, I mean, the same way I said that about other people, we have to be about ourselves too, right? I think sometimes you do need to sleep, but sometimes you might need to say why am I what's up with that? One time my therapist was are you sleeping to avoid or is it actually restorative? And I'd never really thought about that. I was what do you mean avoid? That's a lot of work to go into thinking about why I'm sleeping. I'm just sleeping, but that's helpful because sometimes you are sleeping because you don't want to do other things,
Yeah. Or could it be depression? No, not me.
Right. You're no, it has nothing to do with that. I'm not burnt out. I'm not, and it's important that you're not just okay with the zero speed. It's important that you just don't go I guess I work really hard and then I sleep. And I work really hard and then I sleep and that's what I do. You have to be hey, what's up with that? Is that okay? And sometimes it is okay. Watching dumb TV for a whole weekend is okay sometimes. The young folks call that bed rotting. And it's not terrible as a thing, but it's terrible if that's what you do all the time, every time you need to deal or check out or whatever. So it's a thing you can do, but it shouldn't be your choice skill, and understanding sort of its role matters.
Yeah. I am going to go further here and self-disclose. At the beginning, as we started this section out, I said I'm actually on vacation while this is airing, a sabbatical, if you will. And there were stages of me realizing, coming to realization that I was burnt out, and where I am, I can't, in what I do, I can't just be oh, well, I'm in burnout. Use my PTO and whatever. I've got to do months of prep to be able to do that. And, but first comes the admitting that okay, I'm at a place where this hasn't been healthy because I'm not, and mine started with, I think the earliest sign, was what you just talked about, you just talked about a few minutes ago, when people ask, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you're not working? And I don't know that I would say that my stuff is as extreme necessarily as yours, because I have, I don't know if I'm as bad as you are, Dr. Gold.
Thank you.
But,
that's what matters. You're good now.
But my answers were because I also travel a lot. but I travel to like fun, beautiful, I go to LA or this or that. And it's film, you know, there are a lot of things that involve some glamour or really fun things that are, you know, people would say, oh, well, that's so, but I have to be on, I have to prepare. I'm either speaking or I'm, you know, intentionally, it's work. It's always been work. All my trips are work, all my everything. And so my answers for when people are like, what do you do when you're not, you know, and I'd be like, well, we love to, you know, go on these. And then I'd reference these trips and I'm like, wait, those were all for work, something to do with work or the media. And then, I had this like, well, you know, I love working out. I'm like, wait, that's just something I do to like take care of myself. Like, it's not even I'm not even fascinated by working out. Like I don't watch social, you know, some people are like, you know, they want to learn new techniques, that kind of thing. No, but I do, you know, pretty regularly try to exercise. But like I could not come up with stuff of love going out to eat. I'm not even a foodie. I just don't have time to cook. So like these things that I was saying to people when they would ask me, what are your hobbies? You know, is I couldn't come up with stuff of, you know, real legitimate answers.
Yeah. Sometimes I laugh and say like sleep, you know, like watching dumb TV. Like that's not really a hobby, but it's like you just, what else do I do? You're like, here's the thing. I'm going to answer it. I'm similar to you that like, I don't travel a lot for fun, even though I actually like to travel.
Oh yeah.
But I have like, you know, guilt about being gone a lot and people covering for me and da-da-da-da. And most of the time I'm working. So it's not like I'm traveling for fun. I'm like working. And so they're covering, but I'm still working. And it's like a whole thing where I have guilt that makes no sense. But I would say to anyone listening, like take your vacation days. They're benefits for a reason. We're terrible about it. You know, someone asked me after I gave a talk once, like, have you ever thought about how tech companies have unlimited vacation and no one takes any of it? Like, has anyone ever studied, like, when the policy is that you have unlimited, how much less, like, vacation people take? And I was like, probably, you know? But, you know, there's a even recent study in healthcare workers about, like, vacation days taken or left on the table versus burnout. I'm like, duh, right? But we also, the same study looked at like, do they actually sign out their patients in inbox, or are they away on vacation, but they also are responding to their patients, or email for us in like places that have a lot of email in their jobs? Like, I think we have to put up out of office replies. I think that doesn't mean you can't look, but you have to like figure out what that looks like for you. So for me, I don't like coming back to 2,000 emails.
Correct.
So I give myself like 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening of a vacation to like clear out and recognize that I tell myself, don't reply unless it's urgent, but otherwise like leave it and you know what you're coming back to. But I like to know what I'm coming back to. Some people hate that and some people want to be gone, and that's cool. But then put up a really true out of office reply and consider giving yourself a buffer day on the way back. So like come back, don't start work on Monday, do just emails in your laundry or whatever and go to work on Tuesday. Like we don't do that. We like come back Sunday night at like midnight and we go to work Monday morning. Like that's actually not helpful because that stress of like going back just like kind of wipes out your whole vacation. So like think about whether you could give yourself one more day where you're like sort of working, but you're really just like getting your stuff back together and you're not like showing up and being like, crap, I have like 2,000 emails and my laundry and the kids have to go back to school. Like whatever your life looks like that's a lot to just like jump back into without like a tiptoe. So consider that.
Very, very good piece of advice. You ask yourself in the book, couldn't you worry about you for you? That's radical. How do we even start doing that?
Isn't it weird that that's like radical? I mean, it's sad that that's radical, that like caring about yourself for you and not for other people is a thing. Again, I think there's no like clear cut, this is how you do it. But some of it is like, who am I doing this for, and what's the point? Like, I think we get really lost in like everyone else's expectations and everyone else's needs. And so,
wait, some of it or all of it?
A lot of it.
No, I'm asking, as you said that, I'm like, but shouldn't we technically be asking ourselves that about everything we're doing?
Probably.
I mean, like, I know I rarely do it.
Yeah.
But as you said that, I'm like, wait, but it makes sense. I think the message that we tell ourselves is we're like, no, we just need to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that that's helpful. And I think worrying about you for you means like recognizing you're part of the equation without the everything else, like that just you matters. Like, that's, I don't know. There's no clear cut way to do that.
When you say just you matters, can you give me a definition? Like maybe a couple different scenarios. Like for you, what does that mean? For another type of person that you could think of, an analogy. Yeah.
So for me, it's like, am I taking care of myself? Like, am I trying to figure out how to cope and like, heal because I want to be a good doctor? Or was I just want to be good for me, right? Like, I have a lot of people who are around to be a good boss, whatever, right? Like these other roles you play, like, are you just doing it for that? Or like, do you actually just want to do it because you want to be healthy and happy?
But isn't just wanting to be a good boss, isn't that a good thing?
I mean, it is a good thing.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know, but it just can't be everything, right? Like, I think, again, like something we sort of talked about too, like, you're going to be a better boss if you worry about you first.
Right.
But like, it's hard to do that because the other things become more prominent identities. In someone else, let's see, like in a college student, that might mean like being okay taking your time to figure out what you want to do with your life, and not just like being an engineer because dad told you to be, or like jumping right into the major because you think like you have to know that in order to keep going, or sticking with a sport because you've always been doing it but you hate the sport. Like, if you hate the sport, you hate the sport, So like figuring out like what you're spending your time doing and who for. Another scenario of someone else, like a parent that is, or a caregiver in any sense, but like not a caregiver like a healer, but a caregiver like you're taking care of your parent or you're taking care of your kid, or is like you give everything to that person in those settings. Like you're like spending all your time on their needs, and all your time is like, oh no, if I like take a second away, like that's selfish. You have to recognize in those settings, like taking that 5 minutes or taking 30 minutes to go for a run because you like running isn't selfish. It's necessary. And like, you have to be able to like separate the you from the caregiver you. And parents, I mean, mothers especially, have a ton of guilt about doing any of that. But then when you're sandwich generations and you're also taking care of your parents or whatever, there's a whole nother like, well, I can't step away from X because who's taking care of them? But
that's just not the time of life that I'm in right now. And I'm just going to have to wait. That's tough.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help. How can people tune back into what they need when they've been numbing for years?
I think it starts with naming feelings. So, like, most of us don't use words. And there's a whole like feelings wheel of words that are not just like the inside out feelings, which are the middle ones, which are the basic ones, right? Being able to go like, give yourself time during the week where you actually check in on you and actually answer that question. And it doesn't mean you share it. Like we're talking just with you. You'll start to get to recognize like what different feelings are like for you, but also like pause and recognize yourself in the equation, right? Like if you, like I realized like I had never asked myself how I was doing, but I spend all day asking other people how they're doing. And that's not helpful, because if I'm not asking about me, who's asking about me?
When you realized that and started asking yourself how you were doing, were you able to answer that question?
It feels selfish for a while. Like you're like, what? This is so weird. It feels really weird and sort of selfish. And you want to just say, okay, fine, or like, it's okay. Like today's like, I may be like a little angry, but whatever, Did
you experience in obstacles though between, I guess let me be, sorry, more direct where I was searching for. Did you experience any obstacles that you had to get through that were preventing you from accessing identification of your true feelings?
Like, and not the words, just like period. Like, yeah. I mean, I think, like a separation of word from body, like we've kind of talked about some. I think this like, I don't have time for me, right? Like, how will I possibly have time to ask myself how I'm doing? I don't have any time for that. Like you have to like weirdly make time. You have to like force yourself to make time and be like, okay, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4, I'm going to ask myself this until it becomes second nature. And that feels weird. And like that structure of it is not fun at the beginning. Like you sort of like, this is so awkward and uncomfortable, and I don't really have time for this, but I also don't like how I have to force myself to do it. And you have to get over that to be able to do it. But if we don't ask ourselves that, 1, nobody else is going to, but 2, like we actually don't notice subtle changes, right? So like I would have known I was inching on burnout long before I was falling asleep every day after work if I had been asking myself that question. Because I would have recognized like my sleep has changed, my mood has changed, my attitude towards other people has changed. Like I would have started to see some of that. But if you're just kind of like going about the motions and not noticing that until it interferes with your life or your work or wherever you're drawing your line, like, yeah, it's not subtle. Like that's like one day you wake up and you're like, whoa, and that's not what it was. Like it isn't like that for most of us. Like there's something you could have noticed, and so it does force you to have a more sort of like aware presence of your own feelings and existence in the narrative.
I'm looking forward to coming back on the other side of my sabbatical and having some things to share about my reflection on that.
Yeah, I mean, vacation's interesting, right? Because we really want it to fix all of our problems. You said you're a metaphor person.
Yeah.
My favorite metaphor about like vacation and burnout for me, my therapist was like, it's basically like you're a boat with holes in the water sinking, and you like take some pails of water out by going on vacation. So you like float a bit higher in the water, but like you come back and you're like still a boat with holes, and it's the same water, right? Like, so you didn't change and the water didn't change, and so you sink again. It might not be immediate because you like floated a little bit higher, so you're like, yes, vacation fixed everything. But if you come right back and do exactly the same thing in this exact same system, you burn out again quickly, because it's not. It's a different kind of Band-Aid, but we have all this hope. Like I often joke, like my patients will be like, don't worry, like in 4 months, 2 days, 1 hour and a couple minutes, I have vacation. And if I just wait 4 months, 2 days, like I'll be amazing. And you're like, it's not the answer to everything. It's a reset, but you have to take it as a reset. You can't take it as like this fixed it. You have to take it like this, let me like get rid of the deficit. Now I have to like actually figure out a practice or a thing or a way to check in a different way, show up for myself in a different way, because I fixed the deficit and I am floating higher, and I'll go right back down if I don't. And we don't approach vacation like that. We're sort of like, that's the savior of all things. And it has the ability to like reset you for sure. And if you're burnt out, you feel way better on vacation because the source of your burnout is like work or life or whatever in that way, and you're away from it. If you were depressed, you'd just be like depressed on a beach, right? Because your brain's still depressed. It didn't change. But because burnout is so dependent on workplace and systems, like you're away. So you do feel better. Just like weekends, you feel better. But again, it's just like you can't do nothing like other than go on vacation. Like vacation isn't the answer. Vacation is a rewind button or something, and you have to take advantage of it.
That's good. I love that metaphor. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
How can you've been seeing patients try to escape burnout by changing jobs, locations, or even identities. When does that work? And when doesn't it?
There's no clear, this is the answer, right? Not all of us have the ability to change our workplace, right? So there's privilege in workplace. Yeah. So like, let me just say that, because I think a lot of people I see, it's like, if I could just not be at this job, I would feel better. And there's a lot of truth to that, because sometimes jobs are just not good fits and the boss is just a terrible person or whatever it is. Like sometimes that's true, but like most of us can't just like quit and not have a out. And like we need the out, so we need to already know where we're going, and that takes time and energy, which means you have to like tolerate for as long as you can, right? And that is one thing just to like point out, because I'm aware of that. But you know, I think that like systems can burn you out, can make you feel terrible, but there are things you can do to survive broken systems. There are things like teams can do to help you survive a broken system, in making you feel valued, in helping you find hope in hopelessness, in helping you in like you doing your own way of going, well, like this workplace stinks, but I'm excited about the fact that I helped this patient today, or whatever it is, right? Like you can tolerate a bad system, but if you tried that, like you tried some skills and you still hate it, you're completely devalued and you know it, and you just can't tolerate that anymore. You have to start looking elsewhere, because no matter what skill you learn, no matter what you try, like that's still the reality. And there is some safety in sort of like saying that out loud and having support in that with a colleague or whatever, and being able to be like, this place is a mess, but we have each other. This place is a mess and we're helping people, like whatever. If you can do that, maybe you're burnt out and you need some help, but you don't need to quit. If you stop being able to do that, if like your like dread is not fixable, like if you can tell that like you're starting to purposefully do poorly at your job, like because you just don't care, it's not you, like those are times that you really have to go like, I'm not sure I should be doing this in this place anymore. Again, there's privilege in it, but sometimes the answer is leaving. And that's scary, because the privilege is also the thing, you know, there's a lot of fear in unknown, in new. You're like, well, do I stay with the devil I know, or like the devil I don't know? And if the devil you know is terrible, maybe somewhere else could be at least a little bit better. And I've had to make choices like that, where workplaces changed in a way that I wouldn't have ever predicted or expected, and just started to really eat at me. And because my brain is so systems level focused, like I see problems, I want to fix the problem. If I can't fix the problem and no one cares, like that starts to eat at me. And if someone listens and someone gives me a little bit of agency to maybe change a little bit of a thing, at least I won't feel like, oh my gosh, this whole thing is terrible. But if I have zero agency, they think my ideas are stupid, they think they're silly, they think my focus, like there's a point where you just go, oh, no matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to do anything that makes me excited about this. Like, you can't be there anymore. Yep. Again, when I had that realization, it took me like a year and a half to get a job that felt like an out in an acceptable way. But I had that as like optimism at the end. I was like, all right, I may like in making the decision, you sometimes can tolerate it a bit more because you're like, hey, this is terrible. I'm not going to be here forever, but I need to like think about getting out of here, but I'll just deal with this for now. And it's like not forever. And the sort of end point, even if you don't know when it is, also does help like coming up with that answer.
That's good. When you say, I think I need to find her again, where are you in that process today?
The me?
Yeah.
I use a good Taylor Swift quote for that.
Okay.
No, because like one in the book is like I'd like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. I think I'm doing pretty well. I am always imperfect in a lot of that, but I think I'm in a place where I feel more aligned with my values. I feel more valued, which makes a huge difference. Like I sort of offhand said to my like, oh, you can work really hard if people appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that sounds so stupid. Like you're like, duh, of course you can. But like most of us don't sign up for our jobs not expecting to work hard. It has nothing to do with working hard. Like people who go into healthcare assume their hours are going to be terrible, that they're going to work really hard, especially in training. But they know that going in, that's not the problem. The problem is like all of the things around it. Because if I work an 80-hour work week, it'd be nice if someone said thank you or like someone valued it, right? And that realization for me that like having a good supervisor who, even if we can't do the things we want to do, is on my team advocating for it or will point out what I'm doing good and how they're happy with it, that makes a huge difference. And like, I wish I could say that again, sort of the interconnectedness of like your own self and other people and what they're saying and how that impacts you. But like that has helped me be able to focus less on how badly I hate where I am and how burnt out I am, and be able to say like, oh, that's an okay place. Now you have more time for you because like the problem isn't like that. I can do that. Now you have time to say like, okay, well, you like that. Just make sure it doesn't take over your life and focus on you in some way. And so I think I'm not quite like at this place where I could say like, this is an ideal self, but I actually hope that I don't have an ideal self. Like I kind of hope that
never ending journey.
Yeah. Like to quote another pop star, like the sort of climb of it all.
Yeah.
You know, I think we spend a lot of time, like I'm an overachiever. If you look at my CV, if you look, like I'm a next step, what's next, but it's really important that we like stop and go like, I did that, or like, look at this fun thing that I'm doing along the way, or like, look at this cool thing that I get to be a part of, or whatever. But we don't do that. And it's easier to do when you're valued, and it's easier to do when you don't feel stressed about the next step. And so like, I'm trying to do that, but with the awareness that like I don't actually want to keep always climbing, but I do want to be able to like be satisfied with where I am and still hope that there's more that I can do and more that I can offer.
I would definitely identify with that. Last and final question. What gives you hope that healing is possible even in a system that still feels broken?
So hope is an interesting thing. It's like something you actually can practice as a skill, but people don't. They kind of think it's like wishy-washy and not something to do. I have a friend that's like very into hope, and that's like her thing, and she teaches it. And that's been interesting for me to learn because I didn't really think about that. But I think having hope in broken systems is important. But what gives me hope in general is
you either have to have hope or delusion. I don't think you can stay in a broken system without one of the two.
No, there's maybe like the third would be like acceptance. Like you have some degree of just like, this is the, like some people just are okay hating their job. Do you know what I mean? Like some people are like, this is terrible, but it's just a job and it's fine.
That's not an option for me. That's
it's not
why I
for
didn't
me
even think
either.
of it.
It's not for me either, but I have some patience where that's the case. And so I've learned that is somebody's option. It's not my option.
I also want to acknowledge how much of a privileged statement that is that I just said that. So anyway, continue.
It's like it's an interesting, the acceptance of that is an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Like in a like, I can't leave or it's the way it is and it's fine. I'm good. It's not my whole life. Yep. But I don't know. I feel like I often feel hope just knowing that like there are good people that do what we do and care about what care about other people still. Like I've always liked the people who do the work that I do and the people I'm surrounded with who care about other people for a living. I feel like I'm supposed to help them recognize that their jobs affect them and that they're people too, because we're not good at that. But the people are awesome. Like that choose to do the things that like who choose to be therapists, who choose to be in mental health, who choose to be healers in whatever capacity. Like those people give me hope because sometimes the world feels kind of messy, but like knowing that despite the messiness, people are still really like wanting to selflessly like give their lives to help other people is like cool.
So absolutely essential.
Yeah.
And I would say that a different, let me take that in one, just like a fork in the road of the hope.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about there being a broken system, what is the hope that you have around the possibility of the broken system changing?
Systems can change. They take time and transformational leadership. They also take people not giving up. So there are so many times where I'm like, I can't keep saying this. Nobody cares. Like this topic isn't important to everybody. This topic is important to me. It's not important to everybody. But if I leave the system and even tried to approach from outside, they don't care. They don't like outsiders. But from inside, if I like leave the system and I'm like, I'm just doing private practice, like I'm over it, I would feel bad leaving the system that way. Because I feel like I have the ability to sit there and tolerate the problems and also deal with how frustrating it is and still try to change it.
Yeah.
I think what people, should know about systems is like they do change, but they change slowly. And a lot of people, when they see broken things, don't understand why that thing is still done the way that it has always been done. Like why do we still have like this like create like this work hours in residency the way it is, or but to change that is redundancy in slots. It's government has to allow more spots, more people apply, like all these things that are big and not feasible, but big. And so I think people should think that systems change can happen, but it's slow. Accept that and find ways that you can have little avenues for change. Just sort of like we were talking about serenity prayer, right? Like there's a bit of serenity prayer to that, which is like systems are big. I want to help change it. I will have some goals for the big change. But what's the little change that I can make today, tomorrow, the next day, that I can feel like it's still moving, even though the other thing's moving so slowly or might never change, right?
Yeah.
So like, how can you do that? And a lot of that is culture related. Like a lot of what you actually have ownership of is how you treat yourself and how you treat other people. And that feels silly, but if you're treating other people in a way that is different, it will change the culture, which will change the system, right? Like we just have to think about it that way. And like, that's something you can own and feel good about. Like you're making people feel good about what they do, valuing them for what they do, whatever it is. And so I don't know, I think people in this sort of having this like good, evil, bad, what people have this like, you either change systems or you change culture, or you either change systems or like you change an individual and tell them like to yoga themselves out of medicine, which makes no sense. I think you need all of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need systems change, but we have to accept that that's terribly long.
Yep.
We need culture change. We can do that today. We also can't disregard, like, we have to do some of the work ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's not saying you're not resilient, because people take, like, if we try to teach skills in the context of a broken system, people see that as us saying the system's not broken, fix you.
Right.
But I see it like, oh, no. Like, the system's broken. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to try to change that. But I'd like you not to quit. So and like burn out all the time and feel miserable all the time. So like, how do we learn some stuff that is on you? And that's frustrating to people, that anything really is on them, because they go, this is terrible. That's why I feel terrible. That's true. But because it won't change tomorrow, because you're already there, because you have the power to impact others and do something different, figuring out what works for you is part of the equation. So it's like all of those things together is how you actually create sustainable change in an organization.
What a perfect way to wrap this 4-part series up. I mean, heck yes. For the person like me that tends to go all the way through and be like, hey man, yes, that's amazing. Even make little notes here or there. And then gets to the end and be like, I loved all of that. And what was I supposed to remember again? For that person, what's the one thing you would say out of our whole conversation today when we're reflecting on, I'm burnt out? In closing, what do you want to tell that person?
Yes, you are. No, just kidding.
Well, yeah, because acknowledgement is the first. Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, like, I think the theme of a lot of what we're talking about is like, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others or a team or a system. And that's all true. And I hope people take that out of it. Like, self-advocacy, self-awareness, self-curiosity, that all comes from the same place, which is you need to take care of you before the rest of the world.
Amen. Dr. Jessi Gold, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This has been lovely. That's it, folks. This is your mind. This is your moment. If today's episode challenged you, amend something. Start with rest, boundaries, or truth-telling. Tag us and tell us what's changing. This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.